What is going on YouTube? Espresso Shucko here, and today we are talking about Hisuian Samurott. And honestly, I think out of the three Hisuian starters, Hisuian Samurott is probably the scariest, and that's factoring in that Hisuian Typhlosion gets access to not only Stab Eruption, but can also increase its power with Choice Specs and Sunny Day support. And the reason why I think Hisuian Samurott is so much scarier than Hisuian Typhlosion and Decidueye is the fact that it has the Sharpness ability. Sharpness increases the power of slicing moves by 50%. And for this being a brand new category of move introduced within Generation 9, there's a lot of slicing moves. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of special slicing moves, but there are a few. Three. There's three. So we're probably going to be looking at a physical moveset for Sharpness Samurott. Now, Samurott could potentially use either Air Cutter or Air Slash as special attacking Sharpness moves, but just don't. You have an okay chance with Air Slash, but don't use Air Cutter. And unfortunately, the third special Sharpness boosted special attack is Secret Sword, which is Keldio's signature move, which is not to be mistaken with Sacred Sword. And speaking of Sacred Sword is a phenomenal slicing move. So honestly, I think Hisuian Samurott has some really good tools in its move kit. So without further ado, let's break down Hisuian Samurott's stats and typing. And as far as our stats go, we have 90 HP, 108 attack, 80 defense, 100 special attack, 65 special defense, and 85 speed. Now, 65 special defense is a little bit concerning because that means Samurott's not going to appreciate taking special attacks. Similarly to Ursaluna Blood Moon, it's not going to be in a good position to take special attacks. But what you could do is you could patch this up with either EV investment, item support, or even redirection support, and just hope you're not taking a spread move. As far as Samurott's typing goes, we are Water Dark, and with Water Dark, we are weak to Bug, we're weak to Grass, Electric, Fighting, and Fairy. And that's a little bit concerning for Grass, Electric, and Fairy, especially since they tend to have more special attacks versus physical attacks. Now, you do see the odd physical variant of damaging moves on those typings, but unfortunately, they are going to really threaten that base 65 special defense. As far as our resistances go, we do resist Water, Dark, Ghost, Steel, Ice, and Fire. And the nice thing here, too, is Fire, Ice, and Water, they do have a lot of special attacks, so that's going to be a little bit nice to have in our back pocket. And we are immune to Psychic as well, so Psychic is a really good typing to be immune to, since the majority of Psychic type damaging moves are special, so there is that. Now, what we could do is we could patch this up with Terastallization as well. If we wanted to, we could go for Terra Dragon, and then that would change our Grass and Electric weaknesses to resistances, while we would still maintain our Water and Fire resistances as well. So there is that. And speaking of Terra, we could also go for Terra Fire if we wanted to make sure that we're not going to be burned. We could also double up on one of our two stab types for a Terra. We could go Terra Water or Terra Dark, since both moves do have slicing moves. We could also go Terra Fighting if we wanted to give stab to Sacred Sword, so there is that as well. So what was I thinking with Hisuian Samurott? And what I was thinking was this thing could do a lot of damage depending on what kind of an item you have, or depending on what kind of support you want to run next to the Hisuian Samurott. You could go for damage right out of the gate with Life Orb, and then that way too, Life Orb is going to make sure that your moves are going to do an extra 30% in damage, while at the cost of taking 1/10 of your max HP after each attack. So that could be a little bit risky, especially since you don't really have the greatest defenses to spare. So you might have to be a little bit careful. Now, one advantage of being able to run a Life Orb for a damage modifier is, unlike a choice item, you can run Protect on Samurott, so you could save yourself potentially, so long as you don't take a feint. So there is that. Now, as far as some moves go, for Sharpness, Aqua Cutter is a great water type option. It's a base 70 power move, so naturally with the Sharpness 50% increase, we're looking at 105 right there. We also have Stab, and we also have a boosted critical hit ratio right there. So we're already looking at a 12% chance to land a crit with this thing. Now, alternatively, if you wanted to have a little bit slightly increased damage option right here, you could go for Razor Shell, which is a 75 base power move. So it goes up in power by 5, and it also has a 50% chance to lower the target's defense 1 stage. So hypothetically, if you wanted to trade the boosted crit modifier for a potential defense reduction, you could do that instead. Now, I like the idea of the Aqua Cutter as well, because Razor Shell does have a 95 accuracy, whereas Aqua Cutter is a nice even 100. And you do have that critical hit boosted modifier right here. Now, similarly to Night Slash is basically just a dark type counterpart to Aqua Cutter, which is nice. So this also has stab, so you're also looking at 105 after the sharpness boost. You have the stab on top of that, and you're also a 12% chance to land a critical hit. Now, Sacred Sword here does not have a boosted critical hit rate, but it is a slicing move, so it's going to go up in power, and since it's a base 90 powered move, you're going up by 45 points right here, so you're at 135 after the sharpness boost. That's a little bit scary, and if you gave this thing Terra Fighting, well, then you have stab on top of that, and Sacred Sword bypasses your opponent's defensive boosts right here, so unless your opponent's going for Terra Ghost, you're bypassing their defense boosts. Like, if they're playing a body press set, well, you're gonna ruin their parade if they're still weak to fighting and they're boosting up their defense. And if they're neutral to fighting, they're still not appreciating that. So there is that. Now, alternatively, too, if you wanted even more damage, you could run the Choice Band right here to give yourself a 50% boost to your attack. And because you're now unable to run Protect, you could run another coverage option. So you could run X-Scissor. X-Scissor is a base 80 powered bug type attack. That's also a slicing move. So naturally, you have a super effective means of hitting grass type Pokemon. And prior to Sharpness being a thing, regular Samurott's best means of hitting grass was Mega Horn, which is a base 120 bug type attack with 85 accuracy. Thanks to the sharpness boost, you effectively have the same thing with X-Scissor, because you don't have stab on bug type attacks naturally, and unless you go for Terra, yeah, we're not even going to touch on Terra Bug Samurott. But the point is, you do have a means of hitting grass types for super effective damage. Now, another thing too is you do have some ground type coverage in the form of Drill Run, which Drill Run also has a higher crit ratio as well, so just keep that in mind for your back pocket as well. Drill Run could be a nice means of hitting some Pokemon for super effective damage, especially Steel types, since Steel is not going to really be too concerned about Night Slash or Aqua Cutter. Now, technically, you do have the Sacred Sword for that, but just keep that in mind with the Drill Run. Now, another thing you could do too is you could run Aqua Jet. And then this way, you do have a priority move. So if you're worried about Tailwind, especially opposing Tailwinds clashing and just canceling each other out, you do have a Choice Banded Aqua Jet to bypass that and then just do some decent damage. Maybe pick off a weakened opponent right there with the Choice Banded Aqua Jet. And honestly, with 85 speed, you're not that bad of a candidate for Tailwind support to begin with. It only takes 2 points into your speed to hit 107, and then that allows you to outspeed Dragapult under Tailwind. So that's really nice. Like, you're outspeeding the second fastest thing in the format with just 2 points of investment right there. So that could be really nice. Now, the other thing too that I haven't really talked about is the EV spread here. With this initial Life Orb set or Choice Banded set. And what I was thinking was we try to play a little bit on the bulkier side with a lot of HP investment with 236 EVs into our HP to bring us up to 195. With an Adamant Nature and max investment, we hit 176. And interestingly enough, this is also where the EV bump is for the third one, because if you go down 1 point, you drop from 176 to 174. So if you're going to run that much investment, you might as well get the extra point with the max investment right there to bring yourself up to 176. And regardless of whether you're using a Choice Band or a Life Orb, that 176 is going to go a long way with that item to modify your damage output. Now, with this spread right here, that just leaves the extra 4 points. of EVs right here. So we just go up 1 into our defense and 1 into our special defense, bringing us up to 101 in our defense and 86 in our special defense. Now, we do have a bit of a glaring weakness with that 86 special defense. So if we wanted to, we could run the assault vest to give ourselves a 50% boost to our special defense right there. If we're sitting at 86, that's an extra 43 points. That brings us up to 109. If we don't like that, we could hypothetically lower our attack down a little bit, maybe go to 170, and maybe even lower our HP down to 189. And then that way we can put some investment into our special defense. I also don't like that 97, so I'm going to drop that by a point just to get to the 96, and then we'll go back up to 171 with the attack right there. So that's what I was kind of thinking as far as an assault vest goes. And here's another really good thing to keep in mind. Samurott will definitely appreciate coaching support. And if you guys watched the Hisuian Samurott video, this is going to be a little bit of a repeat. But if you haven't, well, you're seeing it here first, at least, and then go check out the Decidueye video later. But you could go for Riolu with coaching, and then that way you can increase your Samurott's attack and defense 1 stage. And because Riolu is a prankster, prankster is going to give coaching a +1 priority, which means unless your opponent is going for a faster priority move or they're going for a +1 priority move coming off of a faster base speed Pokemon, coaching's going to go off and boost up the Samurott. If you wanted to, you could run Terra Ghost and a Focus Sash, and then that way you become immune to Fake Out on Riolu. And if your opponent doubles into Riolu, well, then the Focus Sash should hypothetically help you. Like maybe they think they're gonna double up into you with a Fake Out and then go for a harder hitting move from their partner. You pop the Terra Ghost, you're immune to the Fake Out, and now Riolu still has its full HP and its Focus Sash intact, and then they hit you, Riolu survives. Great. The coaching goes off. Or what you could do instead is you could run the Covert Cloak so you don't have to worry about burning your Terra on a Riolu, because look at this thing's stats. It's got 40 in both of its defenses as well as its HP. Like, really, a Covert Cloak Riolu with max HP will take a Fake Out off of a couple of different Pokemon, no problem. So you're probably better off doing that. But the main point is you can go for the coaching off of the Riolu, get that boost into the Samurott right there, and then now your attack stat and your defense stats are going to increase 1 stage each, which means they're going to get a 50% boost at +1. And if you're really fortunate and you get a +2, like you get that second coaching off, you can now see both of those stats double, which means now Samurott's getting a lot scarier on the physical front, because now you've got some respectable physical bulk and you have terrifying offensive pressure right there at +2. So hypothetically speaking, you could do that with Riolu, and Riolu does get access to Feint, so maybe you're running the Focus Sash set, or maybe your opponent just doesn't know what Riolu does, but just underestimated it and left it alone. Now maybe what your opponent might think is Samurott's going to knock something out, but they have a slower threat to Samurott. They might just protect the faster Pokemon and go with the slower one to do some damage, hoping that Samurott just goes for that Pokemon that went for Protect. Well, you can go for Feint with Riolu. Feint, so long as your opponent's not a Ghost type, will break, Protect, and Detect, as well as any other kind of protecting move right there, while doing a little bit of chip damage. And now your opponent is wide open, so now Samurott can come in and just finish the job right there with maybe a +1 Sacred Sword. That's also benefiting from Sharpness, by the way, or Aqua Cutter, and just going right there and doing some major damage. Now, Riolu also gets Upper Hand, which Upper Hand is a +3 priority move that is meant to stop other priority moves. So anything that's at +2 and lower is going to be guaranteed to be slower than Upper Hand. If Upper Hand connects with you, it's a guaranteed flinch so long as your opponent doesn't have, like, say, the Inner Focus ability or a Covert Cloak for that matter, which means you might be able to stop a priority move from hitting Samurott and doing some major damage. That could be a thing. And I thought Endure might be a bit of a spicy option for Riolu. Now, normally I would just recommend running Protect, but Endure will make sure that Riolu survives with at least 1 HP intact. So it doesn't matter if your opponent doubles into Riolu. if Riolu goes for Endure, it will survive the turn with 1 HP. So there is that. So that's what I was thinking as far as Riolu goes. But as far as other coaching support goes, like you could run Cinderace right here. Cinderace is a base 119 speed Pokemon right here, which means it's going to outspeed a fair amount of Pokemon. If it gets that coaching off into Samurott, great. It does a lot of mileage in terms of support right there, since Samurott gets that +1 attack and defense. And the other thing too is Cinderace's ability, Librero, changes its type to match the type of the move that it uses. So if Cinderace goes for coaching, it turns into a fighting type. Well, you could run a high jump kick here to give yourself fighting type stab and just have an explosive base 130 powered move. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful if you miss, because you lose half of your HP, or if your opponent switches in a ghost type, or they go for protect, well, then it's a little bit concerning for the Cinderace. If they switch in a dark type, that's delightful if you connect with them, because base 130 fighting type move, yes please. Super effective target, yeah, absolutely, I want to see that happen. But the point is, if for whatever reason high jump kick misses, you do lose half of your HP, so you do have to be careful with that. Now, if your opponent does have a ghost type, you can also threaten them with Sucker Punch, since that is a dark type priority move instead. So maybe it might not be the safest turn to go for the coaching. Maybe you're worried about your opponent having a faster threat than Samurott. Maybe you go protect on Samurott and you go Sucker Punch with Cinderace to try to finish something off. You do have that in your back pocket. And then finally too, just for some generic fire type stab, you do have Pyro Ball. Anyone who played Sword and Shield knows what this does, and it is fun. But they also committed a crime against Cinderace with the animation change, but that's beside the point. Another coaching Pokemon that I think could be really nice for Samurott is Hitmon Lee. Hitmon Lee has the Unburden ability, so when Hitmon Lee loses its item or consumes it, it gets its speed doubled, which means Hitmon Lee can become insanely fast. It's a base 87 speed Pokemon. If you have max speed investment on a neutral nature, you hit 139. This thing also has a base 120 attack, so if it's not necessarily the safest to go for coaching, you could go for like an explosive close combat or a knockoff once your Unburden activates. With an adamant nature and max investment on a 120 attack, you're hitting at 189. And if you decide you want to go for even more absurd speed and go for a jolly nature, well, your attack drops to 172, but your speed jumps up to 152. When that's doubled, that's 304. That's gross. That is very gross. So just keep that in mind. And what I was thinking too is it's very easy to activate Grassy Seed, since all you got to do is pair a Rillaboom, or even if your opponent puts a Rillaboom on the field next to Hitmon Lee holding the Grassy Seed, well, the Grassy Terrain will activate the Seed, which means you'll get a +1 to your defense stat, which doesn't really matter because you're a Hitmon Lee, but getting that speed is what does matter. And if you're looking to do damage with a set like this, close combat's going to do a lot of damage, while knockoff will also hurt because it'll also get a 50% modifier when it removes the item from your opponent. And Dark and Fighting just complement each other nicely, since Dark does hit ghost types for the fighting type moves. So there you go. You could do that, or you could just stick to the plan with going for coaching. I think Rillaboom and Samurott could form a really nice core. And plus, Cinderace too is not a bad thing either. So if you really wanted to kind of play towards the physical side, you could hypothetically throw Hitmon Lee, Cinderace, Samurott, and Rillaboom on a team together. Or you could just drop one of those Pokemon and just have the Grassy Seed somewhere else. Just some food for thought. But anyways, that's what I was thinking about coaching for Samurott. And the other thing is, Samurott also benefits from the fact that it does get a boosted critical hit modifier on some of these slicing moves. So maybe what we can do instead is we can run the Scope Lens. And so with the Scope Lens and moves that naturally have higher critical hit ratios, you're already sitting at a +3 priority right there. That means you're at a 50% chance of landing a critical hit, which means there's another way you could go about this. You could hypothetically click Focus Energy with Samurott, which Focus Energy does increase your critical hit ratio by 2, or you go the coaching route with this with Dragon Cheer, and then this way your partner is doing the setup for Samurott, and now Samurott doesn't have to waste a turn, and Samurott can just get going right out of the gate. So yes, absolutely, I would definitely appreciate having a guaranteed critical hit Samurott, especially if we popped Terra Dragon. If you don't have a Dragon type and you click Dragon Shear, you only go up by 1 for your critical hit modifier, which that's okay for a Scope Lens, Aqua Cutter, and Night Slash combination, but it's not okay for a Sacred Sword because then Sacred Sword's only at 3. But if you turn into a Dragon type with Samurott, thanks to Terrestrialization, Dragon Shear is basically focus energy, like straight up focus energy, gifted to you by your partner, which means now you're getting a +2. Any move at +4 is a critical hit right there. So Sacred Sword's now a critical hit. If you don't necessarily want to run Night Slash and you want to run Knockoff, because Samurott does get Knockoff, you could have that instead. If you wanted to run that Drill Run, you could definitely do Drill Run instead. Or if you wanted X-Scissor, you have that at your disposal. And plus, by not running Focus Energy here, you can go back to having Protect. And this means Samurott can keep itself around relatively comfortably. So that could be really nice. And what I was thinking was you could go for Dragapult, since Dragapult does outspeed the majority of the game, since it's the second fastest Pokemon in the Reg H format. So you can go for that Dragon Shear, pump your Terra with Samurott, give it to the +2, and now Samurott, if it's in a good position, Samurott can do some major damage right there. And honestly, if you're running a bunch of moves that have that boosted crit ratio anyways, you don't really need the Scope Lens. You could throw a Covert Cloak on this thing, and then that way, if you're worried about Fake Out, great. Dragapult's a Ghost type. It's immune to Fake Out. You throw the Covert Cloak on Samurott. Samurott's going to take the damage, but it won't take the flinch from the Fake Out. So there is that. Dragapult also gets access to Thunder Wave, which means we can slow down some Dark-type Pokemon. Since this isn't a Prankster status move, we can still hit them with the Thunder Wave, and now that makes them easy pickings for the Sacred Sword. Dragapult also gets access to both Reflect and Light Screen, so you can have the damage of physical-type attacks with Reflect. You can have the damage of special-type attacks with Light Screen, which honestly, Light Screen support would be really nice for that base 65 special defense on Samurott. And then another thing too is Dragapult also gets Will-O-Wisp, so you can also burn physical targets, so you don't necessarily have to run Reflect. You could run the Will-O-Wisp to chip down your opponents by having them take a little bit of burn damage at the end of each turn while also reducing their physical attack output. So there is that for Dragapult. And then another thing too is you could also play a Alolan Executor, and honestly, I ran into this when I played my second Duskmane Necrozma team, and basically what my opponent did was they had a Alolan Executor go for Trick Room, and they had a Gallade protect turn 1, and then on turn 2, they popped the Terra with the Gallade to become a Dragon type, and then they went for the Dragon Shear with the Alolan Executor, and then the Gallade, also being another Sharpness Pokemon, was able to do some major damage to my team with Sacred Sword. So right there's a Trick Room variant right there with the Dragon Shear on Alolan Executor, which honestly, I didn't appreciate dealing with that in that video, but I definitely appreciate the idea behind the strategy. So you could technically do that. Now, with Hisuian Samurott being a base 85 Pokemon, maybe you want to do that with a slower Pokemon than Samurott if you're doing the Trick Room Brood, but there's the option right there to show it off. So I definitely liked seeing that in hindsight with that opponent. So that was definitely a creative idea. And plus, Alolan Executor does have a base 125 special attack stat. So on the off chance it's not safe to go for the Dragon Shear, they could just hit you with a hard-hitting special attack. Like, they get access to both Leaf Storm and Draco Meteor. So just some food for thought. Actually, do you get Leaf Storm? Yeah, it does. So it does get access to both Leaf Storm and Draco Meteor, which are base 130 powered moves. So they can just absolutely decimate the field. So there is that. And then finally, before this drags on a little bit too long, I just wanted to talk about one other idea, and that was a Swords Dance set. So you could technically pair this with Coaching and double up on attack boosts. Definitely nothing wrong with that. And honestly, the EVs are kind of hardwired a little bit to benefit from a defense boost from Coaching, but you don't necessarily have to run it. What I was thinking is, if you wanted to put a Psychic Seed on Samurott and then pair it with an Indeedee, Psychic Terrain will activate the Psychic Seed, giving you a +1 into your special defense. Indeedee gets access to Follow Me, so you can redirect it away attacks. And then Samurott could go for a Sword Stance to boost up its attack 2 stages each time you use the Sword Stance. And when you hit +2, you do double your attack stat, so keep that in mind. What I was thinking is you could run Razor Shell and Sacred Sword as your damaging options. You could also run, like, say, Night Slash or Knockoff instead. You don't necessarily have to run both of your stabs. I think Sacred Sword is just way too valuable to pass up on Hisuian Samurott, since you do get to be able to bypass physical defenses. So maybe Sacred Sword and a Dark type move might be the better idea, and then that way, if your opponent is running Ghost, it's great. But the alternative to that is if your opponent's running Terra Fairy, well, then it resists both Dark and Fighting, so having the Water type coverage is not the worst thing imaginable either. And plus, if you're running Indeedee and you have Follow Me, so long as your opponent doesn't have spread options, you could always rely on Follow Me, but it's kind of a little bit risky, so you kind of want to have the Protect. But what I was thinking as far as the EVs go is 188 into the HP to bring it up to 189, 84 EVs into the attack stat with an Adamant Nature to bring it up to 152. And remember, like I said, you're clicking Sword Stance, so you're going up +2. That means you're sitting at 304 attack after one Sword Stance. Yeah, it works out in the end. It looks a little misleading, but it's not the worst thing imaginable. And we have 28 EVs into the defense to bring us up to 104. If we have coaching support on top of this, we can also give us a +1 into our defense. A +1 into our defense right here would give us an extra 52 points. So it's out basically 156 on the physical side. So that's not terrible at the end of the day. And with the 196 EVs into special defense, that brings us up to 110. The Psychic Seed will put us up to 165 at +1, thanks to the extra 55 points right there from being half of 110. So there is that. And then finally, we have the extra 2 points into our speed to hit that 107. And then that way, if we need Tailwind support to outspeed faster things, well, at least we know we're hitting 214, which is 1 point faster than max speed Dragapult. So that was a lot to get out, and honestly, this is probably about the 4th attempt filming the entire video, so we're going to leave it there. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of Hisuian Samurott down in the comments section below. I'm excited to try this thing out. I would definitely love to try it on the Reg H ladder once it goes live come September. And if you've tried Hisuian Samurott out before in the past, let me know what you've done with it, and if it worked out for you and if it didn't. I would love to get your feedback on that as well. Anyways, I will see you next time.